Imagine waking up every morning with a constant sense of urgency, as if the world is waiting for you to solve everything at once. The alarm goes off, and even before you get out of bed, the weight of responsibilities is already on your shoulders. Emails, messages, commitments, bills to pay. Modern life, so fast-paced, doesn't wait for anyone, and we're all running a marathon with no finish line. We are more connected than ever, with access to information in the blink of an eye. We have devices that alert us to everything, all the time. But paradoxically, we've never been so disconnected from ourselves. Stress has become our constant companion, an invisible enemy haunting our days and invading our nights. But why are we all so stressed? What happened to the promise of an easier, more efficient, and supposedly happier life? Today, we are going to dive into this journey of self-discovery and try to understand the root of this silent epidemic. Modern stress isn't just a byproduct of our routines. It is a reflection of the expectations, pressures, and realities of a world that seems to demand more than we can offer. Get ready, because this journey may help you understand not only the world around you, but also your own heart.
The endless race, the myth of never-ending productivity.
We live in an era where productivity is synonymous with value. We are constantly bombarded with the idea that we need to do more, be more, and have more. From an early age, we are programmed to believe that our worth is directly linked to our ability to produce and deliver results. At work, in our personal lives, on social media, everything seems like a competition. But this endless race comes at a cost. Our brains aren't designed to operate in turbo mode all the time. The notifications that keep flashing on our phones, the tasks piling up on the agenda, the deadlines that seem to shorten, all of this fuels a constant feeling that we're behind, that we're not doing enough. And even when we manage to stop, our minds keep racing. Have you ever felt that uncomfortable emptiness when you're not doing anything? That's stress telling you that you should be busy. We live in a paradox. We want rest, but we feel guilty when we're not busy. The myth of endless productivity keeps us trapped in a cycle of exhaustion, where rest becomes an unattainable luxury.
The information age, connected and overloaded.
Not too long ago, access to information was limited. Reading the newspaper in the morning was one of the main ways to stay updated. Today, information bombards us from all directions. We are connected 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Social media, news notifications, emails, WhatsApp groups. The flow is endless, and with it comes the feeling that we're always missing something, the famous FOMO, fear of missing out. But this flood of information doesn't come without a cost. Our brain is constantly processing data, analyzing, filtering, reacting. And this creates a constant state of alertness, a mental fatigue that we often don't even realize. We're hyper-connected to the world but disconnected from ourselves. We live responding to external demands, while our inner voice gets lost in the noise. They say information is power, but at the current pace, it's also a source of anxiety. With every new piece of news, with every update, we feel the pressure to always be on top of things, always ready to react. And that translates into stress. It's a vicious cycle. More information leads to more anxiety, which leads to a greater need to stay connected, and so on.
Social media, the comparison that consumes us.
Social media has transformed the way we relate to the world. It connects us with friends, family, and even strangers across the globe. But it has also created a new type of stress: constant comparison. The newsfeed filled with photos of perfect vacations. It's as if we're in a display window, competing for approval, for likes, for relevance. And this creates silent pressure, an inner drive to be as successful as the next person, to have a life as perfect as the one we see on screens. But what we forget is that what we see is only part of the story, the bright, edited, and filtered side. The impact of this on our mental health is devastating. Feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, and stress become common. We start to measure our worth based on what others are doing and forget to look inward. We become prisoners of a cycle of external validation where we're never good enough.
The invisible pressure, the expectations of modern society.
Modern society sells us an image of what success means: a promising career, an active social life, a fit body, a perfect relationship. Expectations are high, and the pressure to meet them is overwhelming. It's no wonder stress levels are skyrocketing. From a young age, we're conditioned to pursue this ideal. Study to get into the best university, land the dream job, build a family, own a home. The list of expectations is endless. And when we fail to meet these standards, stress creeps in as an inner critic, a voice that tells us we're not enough. But what we forget is that these expectations are often unrealistic. We live in a society that glorifies excess of work, of consumption, of commitments. And in the middle of this endless pursuit, we lose ourselves. Stress isn't just a reflection of our routines, but also of the expectations we've internalized throughout life.
The work culture, the glorification of being busy.
We live in a culture that glorifies being busy. It doesn't matter how tired we are. What matters is looking productive. The 24/7 work culture, where extreme dedication is seen as a trophy, pushes us into a constant state of alertness. Technology, which was supposed to make our lives easier, often becomes a tool of control, where emails never stop, and the feeling of always being available is almost mandatory. This culture makes us believe that if we're not busy, we're not being useful, that resting is for the weak, and that success only comes to those who push themselves without limits. This creates unsustainable pressure, where the line between personal and professional life blurs. We're always on, always ready to respond, to deliver, to do more. But the cost of this is high. Stress accumulates and our mental and physical health pays the price. We're exhausted, but we keep going because that's the norm. Because we were taught that stopping is synonymous with failure. Work culture pushes us to the limit, and stress is the inevitable consequence.
The price of perfectionism, when good enough is never enough.
Perfectionism is one of the greatest villains of modern stress. We were taught to seek perfection in everything we do, at work, in relationships, in appearance. But this constant pursuit of the unattainable ideal puts us in an endless cycle of frustration and anxiety. Nothing is ever good enough. The project could have been better, the presentation more impactful, the dinner more elaborate. Perfectionism prevents us from recognizing our achievements and makes us focus only on what's missing. It's like a race where the finish line never comes. This pattern of thinking is a trap. It keeps us in a constant state of self-criticism and prevents us from relaxing, from accepting our limitations, and simply being. Stress in this context is the result of a mind that never allows itself to stop, that is never satisfied.
Lack of time living in survival mode.
Time, perhaps one of the most valuable and paradoxically scarcest resources in the modern world. Our schedules are packed, commitments pile up, and we constantly feel like time is slipping through our fingers. We're always racing against the clock, trying to do more than is humanly possible. This sense of time scarcity creates a state of permanent stress. We wake up in a rush, eat in a rush, work in a rush. Everything becomes an endless list of tasks to complete. And in the middle of this race, we forget to live. We forget to stop, to breathe, to simply be present. Lack of time is an illusion created by our culture of hyperproductivity. We've become accustomed to prioritizing doing over being. And the price of this is a level of stress that consumes us, that leaves us drained, and that often prevents us from seeing what really matters.
The absence of self-care, ignoring our basic needs.
Self-care is often seen as a luxury, something we do when we have extra time. But in reality, it's essential for our mental and physical health. Ignoring our basic needs, like rest, healthy eating, exercise, and leisure moments, puts us on a direct path to chronic stress. We're so focused on meeting external demands that we forget to take care of ourselves. We skip meals, sleep poorly, don't exercise, and when our body and mind start sending warning signals, we often ignore them. After all, who has time for self-care amidst all the chaos? But the truth is, without self-care, we become more vulnerable to stress. The body starts to collect the toll, and the mind too. We need to redefine self-care not as a luxury, but as a priority. Without it, we're merely surviving, not truly living.
The future, a new path to dealing with stress.
Modern stress is a symptom of a world that is out of balance. But recognizing this is the first step toward finding a new path. We need to redefine our priorities, rediscover the value of time, rest, and true connection with ourselves and others. We need to learn to say no, to set healthy boundaries, and to accept that we can't do everything all the time. We need to disconnect to reconnect, to find a rhythm that is sustainable, that respects our needs and limits. The future is in our hands. We can continue running on this endless treadmill, or we can choose to slow down, redefine what success means, and learn to live more balanced lives. Stress doesn't have to be the protagonist of our story. We can write a new chapter where mental health, well-being, and quality of life are the priorities.
Modern stress and the journey back home.
Stress is a natural response to a world that demands more than we can give. It's a cry for help, a signal to look inward and make peace with our own rhythm. Modern life has distanced us from ourselves, but it has also given us the opportunity to reconnect, to redefine, to choose a new path. We're all on this journey back home, a place where rest is not a luxury, where connection is more important than comparison, and where self-care is a basic need. Modern stress is an epidemic, but it's also an opportunity to stop, reflect, and start again.